All right, what is up, traders? Welcome back to the channel. US invades. Actually, they're not invaded yet, but they are bombing stuff, and it's making prices go absolutely crazy. So most everybody, when the market opened yesterday, had a massive bearish bias, and as you can see, Bitcoin actually went up instead of going down during yesterday's trade. But since we tagged last week's high, Bitcoin has literally been doing nothing but pulling back. So we opened a new month over the weekend. I don't know if anybody's aware of that, but it is in fact March the 3rd today. We are retesting the March open as of right now. That would be this price right here, 66,971. So we want to see if this area is going to hold us support. If it can hold us support, maybe Bitcoin goes up, since everybody is so absolutely bearish out there. I don't know, obviously, if it will or not, but I mean, gonna keep an eye on this price. Okay, it's going to be important moving forward. We'll see what happens here. We go out to the 4-hour time frame. You can see you're holding above. Wait a minute. This has got to be moved. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. Never mind. We're not holding above anything. we closed the 4-hour candle below both the monthly and weekly VWAPs. Unfortunately, the month and weekly VWAPs aren't going to be the same this week because the month ended on Saturday. The week opened on Sunday. So you're going to have one day of spread there for this week, right? For this week. So we'll see what happens with it today. Obviously, this looks like a last week's high rejection, but it could still be construed as a pullback as long as it's trading above March's open. If you lose March's open and then take out the low down here, then obviously it's going to look really bad. If you pull the chart out a little bit, you can see that we do have another ascending trend line. You've had about 4 of these since you put in that capitulation style low. The first one was there, then it got moved out to here, then you broke that and it had to be placed here, and that's what we still have as of this point. So obviously trend lines, very, very subjective. They change as price changes, structure changes. So we just want to make sure that we're keeping a good eye on what's going on structurally through the month. Now, last week, we did attempt to take a silver short. We were looking for the DXY to break out. If I go over to the DXY here, you can see last week it traded inside of this range, creating, lower highs, but higher lows. So in a sense, you had this wedging formation going on. Also, the daily 21 was down here as price traded into this area here and made this first low. So essentially, we have a longer term macro bearish bias on the dollar. But going into last week, we knew that if the daily 21 held as support, we could be looking for higher dollar prices and we might get a retest of the yearly opening range. Well, thanks to the bombing of Iran, the dollar broke out this week, and now it's breaking out strongly. As you can see, you broke well above the yearly opening range. You're still closing consistent days above the 21. You are trending. This is a 2-day trend. It's not quite a breakout just yet. You're still in a 10-month range or whatever it is down here, but you do have sort of a long-term wedging formation taking place here. Now, we did something similar to this on oil, and oil has broken out to the upside. So oil could go on a pretty decent trend to the upside. I wouldn't be looking to try to get long necessarily today on oil, but when things start to calm down a little bit, Marco Rubio said that they are literally going to destroy Iran's navy. By destroying their navy and then taking out missile silos, it's the semi-trucks that are movable. Those things are going to be a little bit annoying, but eventually, as time goes on, it's going to get more and more difficult for Iran to bomb oil tankers or to shoot missiles at them. So that should open up the straits. Obviously, it's going to be a risk, a massive risk. So You could see $100 barrel oil coming up in the next few weeks. Absolutely, it could happen, but you are breaking out. Dollar is not quite breaking out yet. But if the dollar does break out and then it takes out Q4, or what is this going to be? Yeah, it's going to be Q4 of 2025's high. Then you will have a legit breakout on your hands on the dollar, and your bias should no longer be bearish, in my opinion. You should be looking for lower euro, lower pound. So price has a way of literally annihilating my macro biases. All right, this is why we take a price is king approach to the markets. We can work up a macro bias with all the economic data that we can get. But in the end, in the long run, it is definitely going to be price that dictates directional bias. So if the dollar breaks out of this long term, like I said, it's a multi-month, like almost a year's worth of price action in this wedge. It could be a large trending move. Let's go look at oil real quick. No, we do not want to publish anything here. We just want to go look at oil. Also on Bloomberg Terminal this morning, they're talking a lot about nat gas potentially spiking. I took a look at some nat gas charts. I didn't really see anything. But here you go. So this is oil on the long-term charts. Obviously, you're breaking out above a lot of stuff here. 2025 yearly opening range. You're trading into Q2 of 2025's high right now. So you're still in a multi-month range here on oil. You haven't really broken out in terms of these candles, but oil has been going up since last month. So we've kind of had a bullish bias, 2 months ago. I forgot, we're in a new month. This is March. But yeah, so you can see January is when oil started to rise. So now you're seeing continuation. So I don't think obviously this month's price action has a lot to do with what's going on in the weekend. However, oil was already making the move before this happened. Like, oil's been making the move ever since Trump started putting boats over there. And also we're seeing risk off rotations. We're seeing flight from growth into value plays that generally will put a bid under oil. So oil longs are they're going to be looked at. I don't know that you're going to see continuation, and it doesn't seem like you would be able to come back down here and retest the March open in the month of March, but I would assume that people are going to be looking for long oil positions moving on, and that ultimately could help dollar bull positions moving on as well. So this morning I was actually looking at potentially getting long USD CAD because it hasn't broken out just yet. However, oil affects Canadian dollar massively. It can absolutely affect the Canadian dollar. So if we look at currency futures, you're probably going, well, CAD dollar isn't up here this morning. So whatever reason, the USD CAD is struggling to break out. There's massive resistance overhead. So generally speaking, I typically don't want to be trying to get long into resistance. So maybe one could wait for the breakout above resistance. You can see clear resistance right here. And then maybe try to position for long trades on USD CAD. Structurally, it's bearish. Structurally, the dollar is bearish. But right now, kind of changing some things around. I would love the dollar to resolve the range. I would. And I would much rather the dollar resolve this range to the downside, not to the upside. Because I think that if the dollar could resolve the range to the downside, that could potentially put a bid under, let's go use TVC, so that way we have up-to-date data. It could put a bid under Bitcoin, and that's what most people in this community are looking at. So let's go over here to Bitcoin and let's get a long-term analysis. Obviously, long-term analysis, it is absolutely range-bound. You put in the lows over here. It was a capitulation style low. I'm not saying it is the low. It just, a lot of volume was thrown down here. Second largest move in Bitcoin's entire history. Massive stuff took place on this day. Well, you haven't really done anything since then. You've been literally trading inside weekly ranges, and that's what you did yesterday. So you took out last week's high and rejected. Typically, if you're a bear, if you think Bitcoin's going to break down and head to lower prices, these are the areas you will be looking to put risk on. These are the areas you should be looking or watching to short if you are trying to short. Very small monthly range here, nasty monthly range there. So February did end up closing disgustingly low. Yeah, it doesn't look great. You've been in a downtrend on Bitcoin since October, so that makes 5 straight months of downside. I think that's a first in Bitcoin's entire history. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. You had a period right here where you put in 5 continuous months of downside. Could Bitcoin put in a 6th month? Yes, it could. It absolutely could. Yep. So be careful out there if you're trying to buy Bitcoin. I do have a longer term bullish bias on Bitcoin. We are going to look at some other things today. But yeah, we could absolutely make fresh yearly lows. Your yearly lows might not be in. A lot of people are super bearish out there, and there's a lot of things happening right now in risk markets. I can understand why. All right, so Nvidia last week had a nice move higher, took out the early yearly high, set a fresh 2026 yearly high, and it was a big one. This happened on earnings. They had really good earnings, and then Thursday and Friday, it sold off both days. Right back under the yearly opening range, right back down into bearish territory. You're in a longer term multi-month range here as well. That's going to be a theme here. Most of your markets like the S&P 500, NASDAQ, Dow Jones, Tesla, Nvidia, all your favorite movers, except for like Google and Apple, most of them are all in a multi-month range. And it's the rotation from growth to value that has kept these things in long-term ranges. So be careful. If these ranges break down, you could see a large downside move. That's literally what happened to Bitcoin. Bitcoin traded sideways for 4 months. Once it took out June's low, it was see you later. Price literally took off to the downside. You could see something like that happen here. So as long as we're trading under the yearly opening range, as long as we're trading in this longer term multi-month range, I will be bearish. I have to be bearish when price is under the yearly opening range. Now, with that being said, I also don't necessarily want to be a buyer on risk assets or Nvidia. First and foremost, it had such a massive run in 2023, 2024, and in 2025. So maybe I could buy it if it gets massively oversold, like MicroStrategy is, like Netflix got. If something like that were to happen, then obviously I'm going to be a buyer on Nvidia. But obviously, if it's going to break down, I want to be short. I don't want to be holding longs. I don't know that it's going to break down, but we'll keep an eye on it. Your near-term 4-hour structure has shifted back to bearish. Moving averages are not going to be helpful in a range because price is chopping back and forth. You're not going to get any clear trending signals. A moving average is a trending indicator. So if the market isn't trending, the indicators aren't going to be very helpful. So we'll see what happens with it. But you can see the trend line here. All right, this is November's low. This is the main low for me to consider range breakdown. So if we start trading under 169.54, that would look like a breakdown. But this low over here is September's low. That's kind of holding this pattern up. And this is a longer term topping formation. It's head and shoulders. But it's not a clean head and shoulders either. It's mostly just range bound. It's just you're in price discovery up here. Could the lows hold and could Nvidia break out back to the upside? Absolutely they can. In fact, the XLK has the biggest buildup of open short side interest than it has seen in the last 10, 15 years. So more people are short right now on the XLK, which is the tech sector, than they have been in a long time. So if Nvidia were to break out to the upside, just causing all of that open interest to get pulled out of the market could absolutely spur on another bullish rip. But sentiment out there is really bad. It is negative across the board. It's not so bad on stocks in terms of like an index, right? Like your fear and greed index. On stocks, I think you're up a little bit. Yeah, you're off the lows, obviously. But crypto has been absolutely just ravaged from sentiment. It's just terrible, right? We hit the 6 spot on that low the other day, or 4 weeks ago now at this point. Damn, time goes by so fast, bro. But anyway, yeah, that's what we're looking at. Euro dollar is obviously breaking down. Here's something that we need to talk about. This right here is the commitment of traders report from Subu Trade. I don't know where he got this data from. If it's true, and obviously that's pretty nice, right? Looks like a really good thing, as large speculators have called major bottoms before. That would be absolutely fantastic, but it doesn't mean that it's going to bottom. We know that we're at a place where a local low could be for a while, or even a cycle low, right? You're massively oversold on the weekly time frame. Whenever that happens, it could be the low, or at least it's closer to the low than it was before it was oversold anyways. So, I mean, this all looks good. So I wanted to check, and the only place that I have access to a commitment of traders report is on barchart.com. It's a free website. Anybody can pull it up. It's literally a free website. And I'm looking at the commitment of traders report is going to be your top histogram, and then the commitment of traders financial traders report, don't ask, I don't know, is the bottom histogram. But if we look here, barchart.com has small speculators as long, and has non-commercials or large speculators consisting of managed money and other reportables as net short. So I am not 100% sure where he's getting his data from, but it is the absolute opposite of what his data says. All right, so be careful when following stuff like that, right? Now you can see here when the green line was well up in the last bear market we had back in 2022, that seemed to build in a bottom, obviously. The green line is the non-commercials, large speculators. So it makes sense that they would be buying on the lows. They're short still. So not sure where he's getting that data from. Could this commitment of traders report be wrong or lagged or something? Yes, it could. Absolutely. I have no idea where they get their data from. You know what I mean? But yeah, it doesn't look like that's a very accurate description of the COT report. Maybe his is right and the free versions is wrong. Maybe. Hopefully. We'll see. Obviously, I want Bitcoin to go up. I know that people make more money in bull markets than in bear markets. I get it. My DMs have been, kind of busy for the last 3-4 months about Bitcoin and about this bear market. And a lot of people have gotten, over their skis a little bit, gotten a little bit too greedy or whatever, right? People are getting hurt. So in bull markets, people just do better. So obviously I would love for Bitcoin to go back into a bull market. However, I can't tell you when or if that's going to happen. All I can say is I know I'm buying at these prices. I know I'm starting to accumulate, but I'm doing it smart. I'm doing it slowly. I'm making sure that it's with money that I can afford to lose, but I am buying. I am buying down here. I know that it could go lower, and I would buy also down there. My main concern right now for Bitcoin is if risk markets roll over, Bitcoin could take another massive hit. So I kind of don't want to see the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Dow Jones roll over. I kind of don't want to see that, because if they stay elevated, that could indicate that investors are, in fact, bidding up the markets. But if they break down, Bitcoin could take another substantial loss. It could drop another 50% from where it is now, right? So you have to understand those risks when you're investing. You have to make sure that your money is situated. The amount of money that you're going to lose is an amount of money that you can afford to lose. If you're trading or investing with everything you have, you are literally gambling. You are spraying and praying. That is not the way to consistent success in this business, unfortunately. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about positions that I am in. So since we were anticipating the dollar to break, we weren't really anticipating that the dollar was going to break out. We were looking for short silver trades in case the dollar broke out. We were looking for the dollar to break down. So like I said earlier, my macro bias was obviously wrong because it isn't breaking down, it's breaking to the upside. However, the positioning was a week early. So I took a couple stops on silver shorts last week, and naturally I nailed the top this week. So that's how it goes, right? You lose a couple small ones, lose small, then you win big. Bam, bam. That's how you do it. That's how you do it long term, consistently. That's how you grow a portfolio. You got to mitigate those losses. They have to be small. If you're losing more money than you're making when you're right, it's not going to work. Math will not work. However, with that being said, am I looking for fresh shorts on silver right here at this ascending trend line in the yearly opening range? No, I am not. This is the Tether perpetual swap contract. Let's actually pull up. So gold is already broken down out of that trend line, funny enough. This is Oanda, so this is the actual spot prices here on gold futures. Let's pull up silver on Oanda as well and just see. Yeah, that yearly open is well down. It's way lower. So you're not into the yearly open here, but it does look like you would be into that trend line as well. Would it be bad if silver and gold lose this trend line? Obviously it would. It could mean that you're coming back down here to the yearly opening range. So if you're still holding long silver, be careful. Be careful. This upside run on silver, if China and all the other world central banks that basically spurred on this massive rip in gold and silver prices, if they continue to do that, continue to buy and hoard, then obviously silver and gold prices can continue to go up. All right. But my job as a trader is to try to get positioned when I think there are bigger shifts coming or longer term shifts coming. And although we've seen a nice pullback here, you are at support. You are at support, and this is still a higher low. Okay. It isn't really until you start taking out these lows and these lows that you can say, okay, now you're starting to see a larger time frame breakdown happen. Could be over for this bull run. I don't think it is, and I'm not saying it is. So please don't think that, I would be literally probably the only analyst on YouTube that would say I don't expect higher prices on gold and silver in 2026. All right. I'm not saying that. I am simply stating that when you have a blow off top like you got in silver, that usually does mark the top for a while. All right. I don't know how anybody else in the internet world describes a blow off top. But for me, it's just 1 week of price takes out multiple weekly lows. That is my definition of a blow off. And you absolutely got that. You absolutely got that. You took out 3 weeks worth of lows in just one massive blow off move. And that was a 38% drop. So that's in 1 week. That actually happened in 2 days. Blow off. That's the very definition of in my book of a blow off. All right, so yeah, obviously I'm going to continue to hold that short, and I will add to that short at daily highs. Today is a really nasty down day. You could theoretically look to put on silver shorts today as long as you're trading under 84.56. So if you're trading above that price, then I would be looking probably for like 90 to 92. But yeah, if price fails to get above 85, I would be more than okay with adding to a silver short there, where it currently is trading. And we'll see what it does moving forward. Bitcoin we just got the bell on Bitcoin, so I'm kind of interested to see what it does here. I am long at the March open, right? I'm looking for a long scalp today on Bitcoin. I don't love the structure. I don't love that we're under the VWAP. I don't love that we're in a 5-week range. I don't love that we're under everything that matters. What I do like is what I saw from price yesterday. Like I said, Bitcoin was extremely bullish yesterday. It went up some, like almost 7%. Like from low to high, it is almost 8%. So that's a big move. And everybody and their brother was bearish yesterday. Like everybody. All across the interwebs. We're going to war. Bitcoin's going to die. Right? That was pretty much the sentiment yesterday. And Bitcoin absolutely ripped face. So with that being said, as long as yesterday's low stays intact, I kind of do need to be more bullish here. But understanding that we are trading under the daily 21 exponential. So that means that technically speaking, I still have to be very bearish here. Or should be, or at least understand that, yes, it could break down today. Absolutely. So just be careful. But I do think, we'll see what it does, right? That's all we can do as traders, guys. That's all we can do. I know people like to act like they can predict price and whatnot, but they can't. Not with any consistency and not with any accuracy. They will just be straight up lucky when they get it right. Price is too chaotic. It's unknowable. I make great calls too. You know what I mean? I've called lows. I've called highs. That all doesn't matter. To me, the only thing that matters is, do those calls translate to trading profits? As that's how I pay my bills. So yeah, we gotta be right sometimes, or at least when we're right, we make more than when we're wrong. But I mean, obviously, it doesn't look great, right? The price looks bad. It's extremely weak. It retested a massive level and gave back almost all of that rally. So it kind of does make sense to be more bearish here than bullish. But we'll see what it does. You're below last week's open, so that's not good, especially since you just took out last week's high. That could be a place to look if you are looking for shorts. All right, if you're looking for shorts, I probably should have said that a little bit quicker, but these are the two levels that are going to basically, these are like the two levels that are important levels, or important level, enough importance to where you could look for trades. Let's go look at Fartcoin. It has done nothing kind of here. You're trading in like a multi-day range, just inside day, inside day, inside day. So it looks like it's trying to hold support, but obviously if Bitcoin breaks down today, I would anticipate Fartcoin breaking down too. And then lastly, Nvidia. Yeah, Nvidia, as long as it's if it fills this gap and rolls over, I'd probably be looking for shorts. All right. I missed that. I wish I wouldn't have. I wish I would have caught that right there. That would have been nice to get short on that. But yeah, I have a feeling some of these things are going to roll over today because of oil and dollar, and yeah, a lot of risk out there, a lot of risk. Be careful. Make sure you're mitigating your risk. When the VIX is elevated like it is right now, you need to be trading with smaller positions. You need to make sure you have wider stops. Technical analysis is not going to be as accurate in a high vol environment. than what it does when volatility's low. All right, and vol is very much elevated today. Very much elevated today. You are up at $25 today. And that's after gapping up massively yesterday and selling off for the entire day. You're back up again. So crazy volatilities in this market. Crazy stuff going on. Yeah, it looks like the S&P is getting ready to roll over. You haven't taken out this low yet. This is the important low here. You lose that, it's going to look like a breakdown. That was a phenomenal yearly open retest. Finally, we've been watching the yearly opening range on S&P literally all year, and it's just been chopping back and forth. Whereas yesterday it gave you an almost perfect retest and rejection. And then there is your gap. Holy shit, look at that gap. That's massive. So, I mean, looking for downside trades here. I don't know, man. But it could sell off all day. It could literally sell off all day. We'll see what it does. Ultimately, I'm still holding this short, so I want to see it go lower. And USD CAD, the trade that I was watching for longs on USD CAD is, which I missed, by the way. So I'm not long on USD CAD, but I was watching this low this morning. I was looking to buy right there. Son of a bitch. I was looking to be a buyer right here, but I didn't get triggered on the alert, so I missed it. I wasn't paying attention. I looked back at it and it took off to the upside. So I'm never going to chase price. I'll just wait. But if it does come back down here today and it holds, I would be a buyer there. I understand that trying to buy a breakout is not the greatest trade to make. Sometimes I just feel like the dollar broke out. A lot of people are off sides on the dollar. A lot of people thought the dollar was going to roll over. I'm talking about a lot of macro fundamental investors. So they're off sides. So we could see a short squeeze on the dollar. So my problem with USD CAD trades is that oil is also strong, and that could keep the CAD down. Well, we'll see what it does, but I do like long ideas today on that. So Bitcoin ultimately tagging last week's open, trading back down to the March open, kind of fumbling here. We'll see what it does. Let me make sure I didn't eat a stop on Bitcoin. I did not. Okay, good. It was close. It was close. I am also trading with a very small position size. Here are my open positions right now. I didn't need to stop because I don't have a stop out. But anyways, you can see it there. It's just a $300 position size with 20x leverage. It's not a huge position size, but if Bitcoin does trade away from these lows, that could be a very nice small trade. And then here's the gold or the silver short yesterday. I took $500 of profits off from that trade and left a very small piece of margin on the position. And now that thing is almost paying me more than the original trade did in the first place. So obviously if silver bounces from down here, because there is a trend line down here, then I need to get out. You're also oversold on the 4 hour. But you can see basically what I was doing, right? This was a trap. I was looking at this close as a trap, and I shorted the wick on this candle. And then an hour and a half later, this thing puked. It's just a trade, right? It's all it is. It's just one trade out of a million in the future. It doesn't really matter. I'm not going to get rich. I'm not going to go broke ever on any one single position. So we'll see what happens here with Bitcoin. If it gets to where I'm losing 30 bucks, I'll bounce and then look for repositioning later. I've already tried to buy Bitcoin once this weekend. I tried to get long on Sunday when, you know, this stuff started taking off on Saturday morning. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, I think, when Trump released the warning that, they started military operations in Iran, joint military operations with Israel in Iran, and that caused a pretty nasty sell-off Saturday morning on Bitcoin. And then Sunday, it kind of, or Saturday, it kind of rallied all day. Sunday, I tried to buy the pullback and I got stopped out of it. So it's very choppy. It's a very difficult trade right now. I would much rather be buying weekly lows on Bitcoin or around prior week lows, right? Not up here, but it is what it is. It is what it is. We haven't tested last week's low yet, so I can't buy last week's low yet, right? But yeah, we'll see what happens. Low day support or your low day close down here, that is still its daily support. You've not been able to close a daily candle under that price yet. So that is the major daily support that we're watching. All right, so it looks like I'm going to have to bail on this position as it is now making a lower low. We'll see. We'll see. I'll set in it down here and then see if it just keeps pushing, I'll bounce. And then USD CAD looks like it's working on the breakout literally right now. So I'm very upset that I missed that one also. Really sucks. Really sucks. I didn't get the alert. So yeah, I can't. There's too many charts, man. There's too many things to look at. I've got a bunch of monitors, but it doesn't help if your eyes aren't like fixed on the asset. Got so many charts. I'm watching VIX, Bitcoin, STG, S&P 500, DXY, US oil, USD CAD, USD JPY, Euro dollar, like so much stuff. So much stuff. There wasn't really a decent setup here. Earlier this morning, Fartcoin gave you the short setup if you have a short side bias. Right? You traded up to the top of the range, the prior 4-hour swing high. That would have been a decent place to look for short side setups if you have a bearish bias. You also have negative deltas here. You wouldn't have had negative deltas had you taken the short on that wick. Right? It would have looked like the deltas had switched back to positive. But your POC and yesterday's POC is kind of showing you what's up. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, it's like a beautiful short. Very easy to put that short on. Yesterday it wasn't, right? Yesterday exploded to the upside. But today, whole different ball game. Yesterday could have literally been setting the weekly high. So I told my members yesterday to wait, let Fartcoin chop sideways for the rest of the day, and then look for shorts around the Asian session potentially, or London if you're making a fresh day high in rejection. Well, it didn't even do that. It just opened, traded sideways, and here you are. So we don't know that they're going to break down, but it does look like Bitcoin's trying to. So there is that fresh low. So obviously I'm probably done with this one today. We'll see what it does here. Looks like it wants to try to retest the weekly open. Dollar is breaking out. I mean, strong dollar can put bearish pressure on Bitcoin. It didn't yesterday, which I thought was odd. But generally speaking, that is the long-term trend. If dollar is super bullish, Bitcoin is not. And I can show you that if you want to see it. But yeah, long-term dollar, it tends to trend, or not trend, but it tends to trade the opposite correlation to Bitcoin. Yeah, let me answer some questions real quick. Let me bail on that Bitcoin position. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Tesla TA, please, for a long. Right now isn't the greatest time in the world to be looking for longs, in my opinion. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why. You are putting in what looks like a topping formation on the S&P 500. We have been seeing capital flows out of growth into value. Typically that happens right before a bear market comes, or at least, or like a larger pullback, right? So yeah, I agree with you. Tesla longs, I would love to be a buyer on Tesla. I own Tesla shares, but right now it's kind of like, is it going to break down or what? If it holds November's low, you can hold long positions, but you definitely need to put a stop loss under November's low. So Tesla isn't quite into support yet. I mean, it's in the 2025 yearly opening range, yes. But that's last year's open. We've got a new yearly open. We've got new data, new info, new everything. So it did act as support here last time it got retested, and over here when it got retested. So it could act as support. It could. Just make sure your risk is mitigated. Make sure you have a stop loss out. And do not sit in a long if it breaks down. Because if it breaks down, right, we've got a downside target of 328. So if I'm looking to be a buyer on Tesla on 390, do I want to set in it at 320? Not really. Not really. So yeah, you can see there really is nothing in here. Nothing. So if you break down below November's low, it could be just a few days and you're down here. Now, obviously, I can't predict the future. Just make sure your risk is mitigated. You are at support. Cabby8153 says, what's up, brother? Can you look at NVIDIA? Is that why stocks are down? Stocks are down because of there's just a war. Like, there's bombing in the Middle East. You've got oil breaking out, dollars on fire. NVIDIA has been range bound for months. So there's not, I wouldn't say there's like one real reason why NVIDIA is down. Or I wouldn't even say because NVIDIA gapped down this morning, that's why the stock market is down. It is a huge reason. NVIDIA makes up a large portion of the S&P 500. So yeah, I mean, if NVIDIA is having a very bad day, S&P 500 probably is too. That's generally how that works. But it ain't the only one, right? There are others. Apple is a $3 trillion company, and Microsoft probably is about a $2 trillion company with this market evaluation. But it, when it's on highs, is also close to a $4 trillion company. So it's generally Apple, Microsoft, and NVIDIA that rule the top three spots on the index. You've got a gap here that could potentially fill. It's weekly supply. It's a level we were watching yesterday. Unfortunately, I didn't get the short off yesterday, so I am looking to position for a short. Let me check the weekly time frame on NVIDIA. Let me make sure that this weekly 21 is in the right place. So last week it closed at 182.28. It's down a little bit now, but that's because price is down. This moves up and down with the candle. So it's best to take the prior week's closing price and use that as your average. But 182.28. So it's close enough, right? 182.25. So I'm right there. So as long as price is failing to trade above the weekly 21 exponential, I want to be short on NVIDIA. And it is trading under it. So if it could get back up here, I might put that short on this morning. I don't know if it's going to. It is struggling here already. Dollar CAD. Is trying to break out right now. It did just liquidate February's high. Yeah, you just took out February's high on USD CAD. So that would have been a decent profit target had I got filled on the long at 136.826. Fortunately, I did not. It's going without me. All right, whatever. Whatever. So yeah, I do kind of want to look for NVIDIA shorts. It's at, it's at a pretty contentious spot down here. Yeah, it really is. This was nothing more than a liquidity run and a swing high failure. And now you're back down again. It could literally trade back up here again later on down the road, but I have to look for shorts as long as this thing looks weak. As you can see, you're kind of stretched out a little bit away from the averages here. Now, the closer we could get to those averages, the better it would be. We never really filled the gap that we made on the gap down from Friday. So I was kind of looking for that to take place first. I think February's open is the best place to look for shorts on Nvidia. Right here. So it would be better if I could wait for that. However, if I wait for this and don't get filled and it rolls over, I'm going to miss the breakdown, and I don't want to miss the breakdown. So I might have to eat a couple stops before I get the perfect positioning on Nvidia, and I'm willing to do that. On a fresh day high, let's see if it can make a fresh day high. Which, in order to make a fresh day high, you got to print a 180.51. Euro dollar is still on the lows. S&P's on the lows. S&P is on the low edge of the range, the weekly expected range. So this is your low edge of the weekly expected range. It could blast right through this, but that is a big gap. This is the gap, like from yesterday's close to here. That's a massive gap. This is what we call a gap and go. When you gap down to the prior day's low, it could literally keep going. I don't think I'd be a buyer here today with the VIX up like this. But it could be a good place to be a buyer. But vol sellers have been failing. They have been failing. So it kind of feels like a breakdown's coming. And unfortunately, that doesn't bode well for Bitcoin, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, everything looks crazy here. STG is a very, very slow mover, and it's very thinly traded, so I don't know that I could. I mean, obviously 4-hour supply would have been a good place to put risk on this morning. I missed it. I don't think we're gonna get a retest of that. But this thing moves so slow, it isn't even really worth watching. Yeah, we're in the $500 range on silver now. Yeah. Yeah, I feel confident that we might get a retest of these lows in the next few days to weeks. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Nvidia pushing up here. Bitcoin might have a small rally, but given the current political environment, that rally may have been squashed. Cabby, every single person that has a bearish bias on Bitcoin has the same opinion that you do. Every single one. Every single one. Everybody's looking for the 2022 cycle to play out exactly the same way. Right? All of them. Everybody's looking for a $30,000 price target on Bitcoin or $20,000. And they may be right. You may be right. Right? It could happen. You at least now have dollar positioned or poised to where that could become a reality on Bitcoin now. So like, I was hoping the dollar broke down last week. It didn't. That was my hope for the capitulation being the low. Now that dollar's literally ripping to the upside, I'm less confident, to say the least, that the low that we have on Bitcoin right now will be the low. A lot less confident. However, with that being said, everybody has the same opinion that you do. So it makes sense to me to go ahead and start looking for long trades, because I definitely don't want to be positioned with the herd, right? So the herd is right sometimes, guys. They have to be right sometimes. They can't be wrong literally every single time. Occasionally they get it right. I am short Bitcoin. I've been short Bitcoin since October. I positioned my community with puts and futures, and we started looking for shorts on Bitcoin long time ago to position for any massive downside push. Those puts are up huge at these prices, and they're long-term trades. I put them out to 2027. So I've got all year to set in that short position. So I am hedged off, right? I don't like what Bitcoin's doing. I'm not trying to make it seem like obviously I'm bullish when everybody else is bearish. No, I am absolutely, when price is trending to the downside, you have to be bearish. Price is king. Regardless of what my bias is, I have to trade the chart. And the chart is bearish. It's been bearish for a long time, and it could continue to do that. Like I said, the VIX is up. Volatility is soaring right now. And when volatility is soaring, looking for put sell trades and stuff like that isn't a best strategy. Some people were asking if they should sell, covered puts right now with the VIX elevated. Absolutely not, unless you're willing to get filled at that price. If you're willing to hold 100 shares of Bitcoin or whatever, IBIT or BTBC, whatever your ETF is that you're selling the puts on, if you're okay with holding at that price, then yeah, you can sell, covered puts. But you want to sell, selling puts is a bullish to neutral strategy. You want to put that trade on when assets are sideways to bullish, because it's a net long trade. When you're short a put, that means you're net long. You're looking to make the revenue on the put's expiration or get filled there because you think it's going higher. Selling calls is a bearish strategy. So like when we put that low in on Bitcoin, I basically said publicly that I think that will be the low for at least 2 to 3 weeks. And it has been that low for the last 2 to 3 weeks. So selling puts in that environment would be a little bit different, but I wouldn't have been selling out 35 to 40 days. I would have been selling out like 14-day expirations. Sell a 14-day expiry, then sell another 14-day expiry until those lows are broken. And then quit selling puts, right? So just, yeah, I mean, we'll see what it does. Nobody knows with any certainty what is going to happen. I can make just as many bullish cases as I can bearish cases, but the chart is clearly bearish. And everybody and their brother is looking for lower prices on Bitcoin. Yep. So you could be right. I never like to see us test prior week or prior month highs and fail. In a bear market, that means the trend is continuing. So, I mean, and yesterday Bitcoin spent very, very little time doing that, mind you. 1 hour. That's it. That's all you got. You got 1 hour where you tested above last week's high and dump. So that means trend resumption. It doesn't mean you'll make money on being bearish or putting on new trades there, but it is consistent with weak asset prices. And that's what's happened. So price is king. Yeah, we can see a big move lower here. I am interested in buying my Marches Open only if Marches Open can hold. right? Because we're in a new month. February's over. We're in March now. So for me, March is open. Will basically be the line in the sand. That's a fresh hourly close on a breakdown. So as long as hourly res holds as resistance moving forward today, I would anticipate lower prices. Yeah, it does look like yesterday's low is going to be the target. That is also your current week low. Current week low. It looks like we set the weekly high yesterday. We'll see what we do here, though. Let's see what happens. It's a nasty looking candle. Generally speaking, we want to see it doing this, right? When we have even a slight bullish bias. That isn't what has happening. So Nvidia is, it's about time to put a sell on Nvidia. Let me pull Nvidia up. Nvidia is struggling here, so let me see if I can make any sense on selling Nvidia. I can't take more than 20 contracts. It doesn't look like a sell because you're trading above that, but it is struggling here. Let's see what it does. Let me get an 8-hour chart real quick. Oh, yeah, never mind. Okay, so, yeah. Yeah, I can sell right here. If I can get it up there, I'll sell it right there. So I'm gonna set it right under 180. I'll just call it 180.50. I'm gonna set a limit sell at 180.50. 180 spot 50, and that's going to be 19.4 contracts. Hang on a second here. Wait a minute, something has changed. What is going on here? Let me refresh this. Something is different. Earlier it said 20 contracts was max. And earlier that was like, okay, there we go. 19. Here we go. It's fixed. It's back to normal. The spreads have tightened up a little bit too. Not much. They're still a dollar wide spread. So 180.50 is what I said, right? 180 spot 50. And it's going to be 19 contracts because I can't sell 20. So limit sell right there, and then I'll set a stop loss if I get filled. I don't think I'm going to get filled. Let me see here. Yeah, let's go ahead and just take it now. We don't want to get too greedy. Let's see if they'll come up and fill us there. It did. It only filled me on 44 though. Damn it. Yeah, I have the best ask at 179.30. 178.60. 2's the best bid. It's a wide spread here. There's not many people trading it. There's only 52,000 contracts traded. The funding rate is also paying the sellers. Hopefully I get filled. On the others. This isn't going to work. $178.77. So let me try to get filled. Or wait a minute, it might fill me here. 178. 179.02 is now the bid. please. That's me right here. This is me sitting there trying to get filled. But there's just nobody on the bid. So I'm just setting here, setting here, setting here, setting here. And I can't move it, unfortunately, because they've already filled a partial. This is trading illiquid assets. This is the problem right here. This is everything in a nutshell. This is why you don't do it, right? All right, let's just close this. And then I can... Okay, they just filled me again on another 44. What is going on? All right, this is going to take all day. Okay. Let's try it one more time. 179. Okay, now it's starting to move a little bit here. I would have got filled right there. Funny. You're a funny guy. Let's take it up at 180. I'm going to get filled on 19, please. NVIDIA is trying to break out here. Oh, wrong chart. Wrong chart. NVIDIA is trying to break out. So I got to be cautious. I do like it, but if it breaks out, it could run up here to my next place to where I want to get filled, which is 180.86. That's where I would rather get filled. Now this 8 hour is going to look completely different, but something similar to that. But yeah, if you start closing higher 5-minute candles, it can rip to the upside. And the S&P is at support, so taking a short here is very, very risky. But I like the 8 hour chart. The 8 hour chart looks good for that trade. Looks really, really good for that. Because this a high, right? Then you make a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So it does look good for the short. But I want to get filled up here. This is the best place, as it'll be a lot easier for me to mitigate risk here. Because if it breaks out, I'm wrong. I'm wrong on the trade. Completely wrong on direction. But if it holds, I definitely like the short idea there. So all we need to do is see if this thing's going to break out and run. But it looks like it's failing. The more time it spends doing this, the more it starts to feel like it's going to roll over. And the dollar is ripping. Like USD CAD is ripping to the upside. So I don't know that I'm going to get filled. So I'm going to move it. The prior 8 hour low is 179.89. I'll just leave it there. See what happens. I'm going to mess around and miss this trade. Or take a fill in a bad spot. And Bitcoin is still looking like it's trying to reject the March open. As long as dollar is moving higher, I kind of assume that's going to continue to happen. And dollar is literally ripping faces off right now. So to the left is dollar CAD. As you can see, you're breaking above the yearly opening range. Almost put this at the midpoint. It hasn't yet, but by the time this candle's done, it probably will. That looks like a legit breakout. And then right here to the center, that is your DXY chart. And then over here's Euro. So down here, there's a trend line. You've also got on the euro dollar, the 200-day EMA. So there is potential support here. Though Nvidia could find support. But the setup looks okay for a short. There's the 5-minute close above. So might have to move that limit order higher. We'll see what it does here. If it takes this low out, then yeah, I'm going to probably chase it. But I gotta finesse this order. Even though it's a very small position size. It's less than a $200 position size. But that's as much as I can trade. Even if I wanted to fill a $10,000 position size, I couldn't. Until more people start to trade these things. Once you get more and more liquidity, they'll start allowing bigger and bigger sizes. But if I were to trade that big with what's going on right here, I would wipe out the order book. I would wipe out the order book. These are very small contracts being traded here. 27, 4, 5. I mean, it's very small. All this movement is mostly liquidity providers. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. S&P is literally at support. It's at the bottom edge of the options expected range. Massive gap to fill up here. Massive gap. Your gap will be from yesterday's close to today's open. All of that is gap. So it's kind of like a weird scenario. And to be looking for the short on the low of day, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. The only way looking for a short right here makes sense is if you think the S&P is going to close down in this area. You know what I mean? That would be the only way that makes sense on looking for a short right here. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Like, you would not only need a breakdown below support, you would literally need a massive breakdown below support. And that's after a huge gap down. I could see the market being bullish all day today. That's why I was looking for longs on Bitcoin this morning, not shorts. But as long as you're trading under the March open on Bitcoin, I don't love the idea of looking for shorts. So I did get filled on Nvidia, of course, now that it's trying to break out. And set a stop loss, $30. We'll see what happens. And that gives me a pretty wide berth. Gives me a pretty wide operating area here. So I would need like a big move on Nvidia. This isn't going to be like a day trade scalp. This is going to be more like a swing trade, just trying to get positioned for a large breakdown. Something like that, right? We'll see what it does. Let me go back and see if there's any other questions. Morning. In weeks past, you've explained the correlation of VIX up, Bitcoin down. Well, it's more VIX up, risk down. Okay, that's the correlation. VIX up, risk down. However, here of late, we have been seeing that correlation dry up a bit. So, like, Bitcoin isn't going to have a down day every time the VIX has an up day. It won't be like perfectly correlated. But historically speaking, using it as like a historical tool, if the VIX is volatile and up, then that means across the markets risk wide, volatility is up. And that could mean that Bitcoin could roll over. Bitcoin has its own risk metric. I think it's called BVOL is the ticker, BVOL. It's not, I just like the VIX because I've kept an eye on the VIX pretty much my entire trading career. It's just something I do. I don't know that it has much correlation or if it's even helpful in trading, because How many times have we seen the VIX gap up and then sell off like yesterday? Massive gap up, pre-market, and then all market long just sells completely off. And also, while that's taking place, Bitcoin has a 5%, 6% rally all day. It's just a good gauge of risk appetite. If the VIX is up, people are worried. And that's a good way to use the VIX. Good morning, Bill. What's up? I'm glad I'm not the only person that shit happens to. What, losing all your money? No, you are not the only person that happens to. You are in a large group, buddy. A massive group of individuals. Massive. It's most people. Most retail traders fail. They mostly fail. It's a very small percentage that does it the right way. And the reason is because of what got you into markets in the first place? It was promises of riches and fortunes and jet skis and Lambos, right? Well, that's because the person that's trying to sell you that dream, that's what they're doing. That's their whole purpose in life, to sell you a dream, not to make that dream come true. It is possible to change your life in the markets. Absolutely it is. You just have to do it with a very risk off approach. Small trades over a long period of time, you can grow your account. It's a proven fact. It's just most people don't want to do that, right? Most people don't want to do that. I could grow my YouTube channel. I could trade, $30, $40, $50,000 position sizes and, make 15, 20 grand on winning trades, lose 2, 3 grand on losing trades, and get lots of people to come over, right? That's not what my goal is. My goal is to teach people how to do this the right way, the safe way, the long-term way. The way that will produce a life-changing skill for you. You can use this in the future to ultimately become financial free. It's not going to happen on one trade or one play or one bias. You will most likely go broke trying to do it that way. So Nvidia is kind of rejecting here. We're taking the Nvidia short based on Nvidia and not based on the market, like what the rest of the market's doing. It's just based on Nvidia's technical structure. If you're just joining us, yesterday Nvidia had a really big, strong, bullish day. Really strong. As you can see here, it just blasted through all resistance levels, traded up to the 21 on the 8-hour, and then that's a rejection. And since the trend is indeed heading in that direction, we're up near the 50 on the bottom side of the indicator. So that does suggest that the bears are in control of near-term price. So in that scenario, if we are unable to short the week high, then we try to get short on what we perceive to potentially be the day high. Now, unfortunately, the day opened, well, yeah, perfect. That's your day open right there, right? Because that's when that 8-hour candle opened. That was the daily range open if you're looking at it in terms of a 24-hour market. In a 24-hour market, there is an Asian session, a London session, and a New York session. And it always opens at the Asian session. So anyways, that's your daily high. Now, obviously, I'm not short at the daily high because I missed it. But this is a breakdown. It's a lower high compared to the last candle and a lower low. And so far, this candle is a lower high and a lower low. So I'm only anticipating that this candle is going to close lower. You're under the average, right? You're under the 50. But on the 4 hour, it doesn't look good. On the 4 hour, it looks like I'm wrong here. Now, with that being said, this 4 hour candle, if it closes at 11 a.m., which it should because it opened at 7, it's a 4 hour candle. This candle could close as a bearish engulfing candle. It looks like a bullish engulfing right now. It isn't because you didn't take out the low yet, but so it does look bad right now. But if it closes at 11 down here, that will look like a very good trade, right? So that's all we're doing. We're not trying to predict price. Not trying to predict price at all. Just looking at a chart, filling it out, and then putting risk on at opportunistic areas. And then if we're correct, we'll make a little bit of money. If not, we won't. It's that simple. All right, euro is still breaking down, dollar still breaking out. USD CAD has in fact made the midpoint of the breakout candle the yearly opening range. So this does look like a legit breakout here on USD CAD. So yeah, you could be changing structure. You could be turning to bullish on the dollar. Now with oil strength, that could hinder USD CAD upward pressure because oil strength is like, you know how Aussie dollar's been ripping faces off while gold and silver's been ripping? Well, that's because Aussie has a gold, like their currency is tied to the gold commodity. CAD is like that with oil. There's not a 100% correlation or an inverse correlation there. It's just if oil is strong, it can firm up the Canadian dollar. It has historically done that. So we would almost need oil to pull back for the USD CAD breakout to work. We would need to see dollar strength and oil pull back a little bit. And oil is at potentially resistance. It is at like a quarterly level here. It was Q2, wasn't it? Yeah, Q2 2025. Q2 2025's high. Right here. So you're up there. Well, that is not the right word. Q2 2025's high. It could be resistance. We don't know it. But oil has been trading in this candle's range since this candle's range. It's just like one big box, right? If you put a box around this candle's high and low, it pretty much encapsulates all the price. So it's a big range for oil to break out of. I wouldn't short that. It's got too much bullish momentum to look for the short today. But if oil fails to break out above that tomorrow, it could be a place to look for near-term oil short scalps. Now, with that being said, there is a war in the Strait of Hormuz, which controls a massive amount of oil. So that's why prices is going up. If the U.S. government gets that under control, then obviously I could see oil topping out for a little bit. But I don't think they'll be able to get it under control in the span of 1 week. Iran has a lot of warships. I can't remember how many, but it was up well over the multiple hundreds. So it's going to take time to locate every single one of them and all of that. And then it's not just it's just not Iran's ships that the oil producers or oil shippers need to worry about. It's also land-based surface-to-air missiles. But anyways, we'll see what it does. They do not want oil prices to go up. Trump ran on that. Like, that's a massive core component to his political strategies, is to keep oil prices low. Drill, baby, drill. Like, so Donald doesn't like it, or at least he thinks it negatively affects his campaign. So obviously he's going to do whatever he can to keep oil prices subdued, or at least under 100. Nobody wants that. But a lot of Bloomberg analysts and talking heads on CNBC are all screaming for triple-digit oil prices. But they all do not like Donald Trump. Anyway, so we'll see. We'll see what oil does. Nvidia did top out here and is rolling over. What gave me a bearish bias on it today is simply the averages you're looking at, the 200 and the 21. It's a very old, very popular, very widely used trading strategy in the stock market. It doesn't work so well with crypto or 24-hour markets, but yeah, if your 200 is above the 21, then there's more bearish pressure. So when price is trading above the 200 like this, it can be looked at as a trap. Now, with that being said, your risk would have to be at this point the high of day if you did take a day trade short on Nvidia, because if it finds support down here and then goes back up, then the bulls could be buying it, and you could see it break out later on in the session, and then the averages would obviously shift, right? But it is a decent strategy. Basically, you're looking for trades on stocks whenever these two averages are close together pre-market. So going into the open, you want the averages to be pretty much right on each other. Like here, this is a perfect example. But in this scenario, you see how close the 21 is to the 200? So in this scenario, most people using this average would come out expecting higher prices because the 21 was above the 200. But even before you got the bell, it already started to drop. And it started to drop hard. But that's just one strategy that you can use. In this scenario, you weren't very close, but they were closer than like this width, right? Very wide here. Close. The market opens, the bell rings, you get 1 5-minute candle lower. The 21 is above the 200. Buyers bought the dip, and price moved up for the rest of the day. So that's it. It's that simple. There are so many tiny, easy trading strategies that you can deploy in these markets. Just none of them works all the time. Some of them have a really decent hit rate, and you can make lots of money just by deploying this one strategy. We did it on a back test one day, or it was actually more of a forward test. We went back in data, back in time, and just shrunk the charts. We didn't know what day we were on or any of that, so we couldn't be influenced by what happened in the past. And we were just basically using if this happens, then we'll do this statements, putting on the risk, and nailed like 4 trades in a row. Bam, 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 bam. It's a good strategy in the stock market. It works out. You can forward test it yourself with TradingView and see, does it have a better than a 50% hit rate? If the answer to that is yes, over a period of a year, in all market conditions, by the way, because it's more of a day trade strategy. It's not a long-term swing trade strategy. So in all market conditions, this strategy can work. If it has better than a 50% hit rate, mathematically, that is a fantastic trading strategy. You will make money long-term if you have a 50% hit rate, if your risk mitigation skills are on deck. If you are good at it, right? Taking very small losses, hitting larger winners. A 50% winning strategy is a beautiful trading strategy. You won't get rich on any single trade though. You have to take it as a computer would. Same approach. If you do it like that, over time you will be successful. That's just one. We'll see what it does. It's not really breaking down strongly either. So you're still trading inside yesterday's range. Yesterday was a gigantic upside day. So it does feel like on the very near term, this would be a buy the dip opportunity. And we do know that risk markets are on the bottom edge of the weekly range, the expected weekly range. Today's Tuesday. You're already on the lows of the expected weekly range. And it had a big range this week. I think it was like 145 points. So a massive weekly range, and you're already there. So it does seem like looking for sell trades today is kind of risky, to say the least. What's Bitcoin doing? Of course, it's going to chop the March open up. It stopped me out. I tried to get long on the March open, and I got stopped out. I shouldn't have closed the trade. As you can see, it literally, that's what stopped me out. That wick right there. It got me and most of everybody else that tried to get long today. Now it's running. Are you kidding me? So I could potentially try to put it on again, because look what's going on over here on monitor 2. You're literally rejecting the yearly opening range on USD CAD. You're rejecting the 200-day and this trend line on euro dollar. So you're putting bid pressure on euro. That would put sell pressure on the DXY. That could make Bitcoin and risk be bullish today if dollar pulls back. That could also help gold and silver put in a bid too. So be careful if you're looking for fresh shorts on silver and gold all the way down here. This thing could bounce all the way back up to 90 bucks in one day. I wouldn't expect that, but it could. There's a lot of volatility out there today. But I want to try to get long Bitcoin one more time here, if I can, at 4-hour support. This March open price is going to be really close to 4-hour support. See this? It's just the last 4-hour close. So it's not a very well tested 4-hour support or anything like that. But it's a risky long, man. The market is weak. Any bounce or any bullish pressure that you get could be sold into. It's a very choppy market environment. Technical traders are going to get chopped up. The people that will survive this are the people that know how to mitigate risk. All right, so apparently, yeah, I don't know what's going on, but anyways, okay. I don't have any new questions in the chat. All right, good. Let me get up here and see if we can get filled on a Bitcoin entry again. It's still a very risky trade, but I've only eaten one stop on it, so that ain't that bad. Risk is elevated, VIX is elevated, so I definitely don't want to go in with a big position size. That price is what? The close is 67,000 exactly. So I'll go 67,010 and try to throw out a $300 position size. Once again, that's with 20x leverage. See, look at this structure on the 4-hour on Bitcoin. It looks okay to be a buyer, doesn't it? You're testing the 50 from the top side. You've already broken out. This isn't a trap because the very next candle didn't take out the low. It took a lot of time. It pulled back into here. So I could make the argument that if this price holds, I could look for an oversold test. I mean, overbought test. Because it's an oscillator. 50 rejected. It went back to oversold. Then it back to overbought. Back to oversold. Back to overbought. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know that it'll work, but I don't know that I'll get filled either. I probably won't get filled because obviously it's trying to chop this level up. It's probably just going to leave. Damn it, I should have just sat in it for a little while longer. If I could have just held out for 5 more minutes, I would still be in the trade. Obviously, I don't know that it's going to work. You've got VWAP and the weekly and monthly VWAPs above you. Last week's open is up there as well. So you do have structure here that could cause sellers to jump on it again. But it looks like they're about to get stopped out. Man, it's been difficult to get positioned on longs on Bitcoin the last 2 or 3 days. It has been a difficult bid. That's a higher low though. That's the low to stop me out. Oh wait, no, I got stopped out Sunday, sorry. Yeah, I tried to buy here. So it liquidated that wick right there. I tried to buy that. It did bounce, but then it came right back and stopped me out. It's been a difficult trade to get long Bitcoin. And it doesn't really make sense to be getting long Bitcoin because it's so structurally bearish, but there are a lot of people that will get smoked if this thing goes back up to even 75K. You're going to shed a lot of sell side pressure. Yeah, you would, because this is week number 4. You smoked the high yesterday and failed, but you got 2 more weekly highs that are higher than that one. So anybody that shorted in this week that have their stops above that week's high, right, they're still in the market. And then anybody that shorted this week and has their stops above that week's high, they're still in the market. So just getting up to 75K would destroy all of those sellers. And if you look at, where is it? Okay. If you look at your liquidation indicator, right, the liquidity heat map on like a 3-month chart, you're going to see it is literally nothing down here. Okay, like there is nothing down here. Very little liquidity down here. And look what's setting just above you. All of that. All of that. It seems to me like Bitcoin would probably go higher before it goes lower, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It is not going to come back and fill me, are you? Whatever. That's annoying. That's very annoying. Very annoying. But yeah, silver and gold could bounce today if dollar does pull back. But I think it'll probably, I mean, What's NVIDIA? NVIDIA is still not dropping, but it isn't going up either. Yeah, gold's into a lot of support down here. It is a fresh breakdown, and I would still more or less have a sell side bias on gold. This is a bearish engulfing candle. Yeah, you filled the gap. So if gold pulled back up to gap fill, I would probably be willing to put a short on there. I don't know that you're going to get that high, but I don't know that I could sell it down here at 51.50 or 51.76. So if it pulls back to gap fillage in the village, I think I would be willing to put a short on right there. It's still very much bullishly structured, and this is still a higher low. Gold could absolutely find support here. It's last month's VWAP. It literally ticked it to perfection. The low of that candle is 49.96. The VWAP is literally 49.95. So $1. There's a $1 difference on a 4-digit asset. That's a pretty good. That's pretty good. USD CAD coming off pretty vicious here. The dollar rejecting, like I said, massive support here on euro. Massive resistance on the dollar. So gold, silver, Bitcoin, all those things might bounce. Anything trading against the dollar could bounce. Still no questions. I don't know if my YouTube is stuck or if nobody's talking. All right, going back to NVIDIA, Bitcoin has left the building. It has went right back up to last week's open. I'm hoping it pulls back and gives me a chance to fill. It might not do it in the next hour or two, but it might do it in the next 4-hour session. So basically, this is what I'm looking for. So there's 17 minutes on this candle. Hopefully we get a new candle open up in here and we get a pull back into this area and it gives me a fill and then it bounces and takes this high out. Hopefully that's what plays out later on today. If not, I ate a stop and I missed it. We'll see. NVIDIA is starting to roll over a little bit here. Could this pullback on the dollar be that a buying opportunity? It absolutely could. The dollar has broken out, so I would have more of a bullish bias on the dollar. It's at resistance, but I would assume dollar bulls are going to show up like crazy. So we got a fresh day low on NVIDIA. So that's good. Made a high, a daily high on the open. Could not make a higher high, and then you traded down and you set a fresh day low. Okay. Okay, thank you. I'll be happy buyer for MSTR at 100, says Toby. I doubt we'll get a retest, but it's due for a major relief rally. Yeah, that's where I kind of sit too, Toby. I think in MicroStrategy should have a relief rally. We'll see. We'll see what it does. 100. Yeah, it could. I think you could get a retest of 100. Let's go look at it real quick. Oh, maybe not. Sorry. Never mind. Yeah. The bottom end of the range is going to be 120. So it definitely looks weak still. And until you're back above February's high, you've really done nothing for this longer term range. But your near term range is going to be around 120. You can see how this 4-hour close kind of caught that close too. So that's going to be your near term support. And then obviously if you get a 4-hour close under, then you could be looking at a breakdown or a bear trap, one of the two. So I would assume, like, if you're trying to buy 100 for a bounce, I don't see why you couldn't be a buyer at 120 if that level holds. You know what I mean? But we'll see what it does. My concern with it is it just has not been able to get any kind of bullish momentum. Yesterday was a good bullish day, but we're going to need to see like 2 or 3 of these kind of days every week in order for prices to start heading higher. Let's go quickly just look at ETF flows, because coming into last week, it was usually outflows, right? You saw more days of outflows than days of inflows in the weekly range. Well, that trend shifted last week. So last week, Monday was an outflow day, but then it was inflow. And anything over 250, I considered to be extensive. So you had extensive inflows and then very minor outflows on Friday. So far, coming into this week, we're only going to get yesterday's data, but look at that inflow, 458. Anything over 250 is extensive. So if we can continue to do this trend right here, where you get more weekly inflows than outflows, then price should start heading higher. Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like a relief rally on Bitcoin and MicroStrategy could absolutely happen. Thank you for the super chat, the Market Cowboy. Appreciate you. Always thankful for you. Been with you since the CTM days back in 2019. How do you feel about emerging markets? I don't trade them in terms of like the emerging market ETF or anything like that. But as far as like Euro, Aussie currencies, I trade them all the time. I can go look at EMCX and IGF for you. Let me go look at those real quick. I have no problem looking at them. But I mean, I don't trade those specific ETFs. EMCX. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. EEM, is an emerging index fund. It's pulling back, but this is going to be because of the oil issues in Europe right now. Like right now, what some analysts are concerned with this this war in Iran is it could cause energy prices to soar in Europe. So just be careful when looking at emerging markets right now. But yeah, if they pull back to support, this chart looks good long term. Could it be topping out? Yeah, I mean it's a fresh breakout too, so that kind of sucks. But for some reason I can't pull up EMCX. I don't know why. EMCX. Yeah, there's not a symbol matching that. But let's go look at IGF. Oops, sorry. So infrastructure ETF. This one looks way better. Yeah, this is a good looking chart. It's a very good looking chart. And are you seeing tests of initial key support? Right now you're testing the midpoint of last month's candle. It could ultimately be support. but it's a pretty severe pullback this week. It's much bigger than what we've seen in the past. You could be seeing a near-term top put in. The way that I feel about trending assets, this appears to be one. Retests of the 50-week, 21-week initially, but then ultimately if they can hold the 50-week long-term, that's typically what you want to be looking to invest in. There are periods of risk, obviously, when you lose that area, and then that scenario, you got to be very cautious about being a buyer. But yeah, any pullbacks into $60 or wherever this indicator ends up being in the future could be looked at as potential buying opportunities if this thing winds down pretty quickly. You know, if it takes weeks, if weeks start to turn into months, well, then things like this might not be such a great buying opportunity. But yeah, just keep track of your 50-week for longer term buy and hold investable asset classes. I'm sure everyone is glued to their charts. LOL. How do you feel about emerging markets? I was going to read your comment, but I appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much. It's EMXC. Was I reading that wrong? I damn sure was. EMXC. I was saying EXMC. Thank you. Yeah, it's pulling back this week. This is going to be because of the euro. Here's your euro chart right here. Let me make it big so you can see just how bad this dollar breakout is affecting the euro dollar. Yeah, this is a breakdown. Now you are into support, so I would anticipate a small bounce. But my question is, do they sell into the weekly 21 EMA? If they sell into this, then you could see a trend. I heard one analyst call for parity on this thing, but he feels the same way that I do. Parity, for anybody that doesn't know, is just $1. It's parity with the US dollar. That is a very long ways away. Like, long ways away. I would not be calling for parity. Like, no way. That's way down here. You would literally wipe out all of that trend to get back to parity. Now, with that being said, you are breaking down out of what looks like a topping formation. So emerging markets could get hit hard if things like the euro and Aussie or Australian dollar start to sell off. So be careful. You're into support here, but it's what happens when it retests that weekly 21. What happens then? Do they hold it or do they sell it? So you might have to give it a minute here. You haven't done anything yet. It's still constructive. The trend is still somewhat holding. People could ultimately buy here if the US gets the oil situation under control. It has a lot to do with oil and nat gas when it comes to emerging markets, because obviously not every country is as wealthy as America is in that, right? Like, America's a net exporter of oil. Europe is imports. They import a lot of oil. So yeah, I hope we don't see triple digit oil, but it could definitely hurt emerging markets. Just keep an eye on the weekly 50. You're probably losing the 21 on this chart. Not yet. You're getting close to it. Weekly 50 is way down here. It's a good looking chart long term. It's just like anything else. When you have these risk factors in the world, it starts to scare investors. But if these things get tidied up rather quickly, then I would expect this will find support. Yeah, you're retesting the quarterly range here, or the midpoint of the quarterly range. So, I mean, support could come in to play here. It's last month's open. This is exactly where I would want to see support hold. But the fact that you got down there so freaking fast is scary. You got down there literally in one evening. But markets are volatile right now. Be very careful, guys, if you're looking for longer term buys, because imagine if the S&P goes into bear market territory. Like, that would be better, or a better place to start looking for longer term buy and holds. Because if the US markets, meaning Nasdaq, S&P, and Dow Jones, if they break down and roll over, everything will get killed. Because Bitcoin's already been murked. Every asset class, no asset class will be safe. Bear markets, generally everything gets hit. Because people are just hitting sell, get me out, give me my money, right? They're afraid that they're not going to have access to their money, and there are good reasons why. There's a credit crunch right now. The U.S. is on so much debt. A massive firm, I can't remember the name of it, last week just stopped allowing redemptions to take place. Redemptions just simply means we're not going to let you pull your money out, as it could damage the firm. So whenever things like that start happening, you will see risk. So just be careful. This is risk. Massive risk. This could keep going, is what I'm saying. Like, you're going to see people fib this move right here and try to catch like what happened back in 2020. They're going to be looking for sells at the 618, the 50% retracement. And if that holds, then you could see a larger breakdown. If it's a true risk-off move, it could get nasty. All right, going back over to NVIDIA real quick. It is still making fresh daily lows, but you're not seeing like any massive breakdown here. It's just literally into like, yeah, I mean, it's trending lower. So far, so good on the NVIDIA short. It's not a big move, to say the least, though. And at any point, you can find support. You're into pre-market swing low here on pre-market, but obviously pre-market lows are 176.05. You take that out and still continue to trend, you're coming back down here to that longer-term trend line on NVIDIA. Breaking down out of this could spell disaster for NVIDIA. November, for me, is that line in the sand. If you break and lose this with speed, with continuation, you could hit 142 quickly. And that's the reason we were looking for shorts today. Bitcoin still up at last week's open. Starting to find a little bit of resistance here. We'll see if it pulls back to the March open, and can the March open hold? That will be the question all day long on Bitcoin. If it goes back to the March open, does that level hold? If it does, I'm going to put a very small trade on to try to catch a rebound of just a simple long scalp, looking for a relief rally, so to speak. The hidden, oh, wait a minute. Give me 1 second. EMXE, I got that. Yes, sir, thank you. It would take a black swan event, which seem to be more common nowadays, but the market manipulation holds strong. Yeah. Mainly the reason why you're not seeing the major markets break down is because they experience weekly inflows from 401k funds and things like that. So yeah, it's a lot harder to make money on shorts in markets that generally trend up based on passive investing flows. Yeah, black swan events can happen for sure. The hidden risk in asset markets is the giant size of the passive flows in the index funds. And that is also correct, yes. Big reason why central banking is terrified of a full-blown cyclical bear market. And I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. If that happens and you start to see like a run on those funds, you could see a cascading event in the S&P 500 of like we have not seen in a very, very long time. I have on put spread on the S&P 500 way out of the money, way out in time, just in case something like that is to happen. Obviously, if that trade expires worthless, I'm okay with it. But yeah, I do have on some serious. I do have on positions to basically pay me if something that tragic were to happen. But more and more people are anticipating something like that could happen, especially the way everything is tied up right now. Like if you have a credit crunch at the same time as a black swan event or a massive unwinding of S&P products, it could get nasty quickly. Yes. Yep. Now, obviously, there would be market circuit breaker halts and stuff like that, but still, it could get bad out there. That doesn't happen all the time, so you're obviously trying to position for that. You're going to take a lot of losses, but if you're right even one time, it could pay off in a big way. If you're right even once. And there are structures that you can put on options positions that literally just capitalize on that volatility expansion. Right? But it doesn't happen often. And since the pandemic, so that was one bear market in 2020, and then you had another bear market in 2022 based on rising inflation, and then we had another bear market in 2025. And this is, I'm talking about in the S&P. Like, you hit bear market territories many times. So in terms of like probabilities of us seeing another bear market, I would have to say they're kind of on the low end. Now, with that being said, it feels like it's topping out to me. Let's go look at it long term. I mean, that's why I'm bearish, but we've been talking about this exact thing for weeks now. This is a topping formation. Whenever you see a pattern like this, like, that is not good. That is generally looked at as a very bearish pattern. Because with those flows, with those constant passive investing flows that you are talking about, this market generally trends to the upside. So whenever you get up into all old highs, a little bit of volatility is expected, right? But this trend should continue, and it isn't. Now, we've already shown you why, like many times, right? It's the run from growth to value that is keeping this down. That is why we are looking for the short side positioning. I hate being a bear in the S&P because it generally trends up. But if you get a breakdown and there's continuation, it could get ugly quick. It definitely could. Yeah, this is a topping formation here. It's literally a broadening wedge. It's literally the same thing that happened to Bitcoin. Identical. I don't remember when I posted it. I've already got a picture of it. Like, look at that. It's the same thing. I posted this a while back, February 17th. So it's been a couple weeks ago when I posted this, but yeah, you could see this exact same thing play out here. It's literally the same chart. It's just Bitcoin SPX. It's not a great look. It isn't. So what we're keeping our eyes on is we're going to keep our eyes on the ratio charts. Because if those start to bottom, then we could see that breakout happen. If you start seeing a rotation back from value to growth, if this starts to slowly trend back to the upside, then you could see that S&P 500 breakout. But it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. It's been struggling down here for a couple weeks now. What we don't want to see is a larger breakdown on this chart. If we get a larger breakdown on this chart, your index products they're going to roll over most likely. So they need to start doing something. I don't know, but did you also see what happened to the bond market today? Like, today's Tuesday. Look at this. It finally started to roll over. The 30-year yields finally started to roll over. You finally started to see a relief bounce on the TLT. Massive gap down on this thing last 2 days. That wouldn't be good if you saw a large bond sell-off. That would be very bad. Things are lining up. And it does look like we could see a nasty, nasty move here. I wouldn't be looking for it specifically today, though. Right? Not down here on these, because this is support. That is your month low. That is a key month low. So it is, people will buy there. I don't know that they'll be right long term, but they will buy there. It is a pullback. It's the first time you pulled back to this price since December. That's 3 months ago. Well, 2 months ago. Bitcoin is leaving March open behind, and I'm very pissed. Because I got long this morning anticipating this move. But that wick stopped me out right there. Damn it. Damn it. All right, so we missed the Bitcoin trade. Silver is also bouncing here. I'm going to close my silver short if it starts making fresh 4-hour swing highs. If I don't really want to see it get all the way back up to 87.80. But it could. There's plenty of time on this, and if dollar pulls back hard, there is a chance that happens. This is a higher low. It is a higher low. You do have a trend here that is kind of holding. Oh, it's already there. Gotcha. Yeah. I would anticipate it gets sold into, but only time will tell if that happens or not. So the unrealized gains that I currently have on the silver short, I'm going to close and then look to reposition later on this pullback. We'll see what it does. All right. If your passive returns have a 0% return over 10 years, you'd want to get that. Yeah, you definitely would want to get out. 2000 and 2012 was brutal for those people. The passive investors, absolutely they were. Thank you, Lunar. I agree, and I'm very patient with entry points for my long-term portfolios. Yeah, definitely do that. Credit spreads broke 3% resistance. Credit spreads look rough right now. I think that's really what everybody's concerned about, is a breakdown in credit. If you get a breakdown in credit, you're going to see a lot of risk. All right, so what's NVIDIA doing here? It is bouncing. It is bouncing strongly. It is all the way back up to my entry. So it looks like NVIDIA wants to go higher today. Like I said earlier, if this happens, I would anticipate a weekly 21 retest. I haven't been stopped out yet, but yeah, it's hard to sell when the S&P is down so big on a gap. When it's down so much on a gap, it's a difficult trade. You're trying to hold support at the weekly expected range lows. This is what the risk markets were pricing in this week. So you've tested it, and it's only Tuesday. I imagine people are buying here. I don't know if that weekly 21 EMA line is legit. It is not. We got to go with last week's close. Yeah, this is going to be huge if it holds as resistance. December's open was also objective support. You closed under it here and saw a big bullish rally out of it. But this is a pretty deep breakdown. That's going to be a huge gap moving forward to fill. Massive gap. Huge. But looking for fresh shorts down here, just not the best position, in my opinion. Bitcoin has made a higher 4-hour high. Looking beautiful, Bitcoin. Keep up what you're doing, bro. Keep it up. STG also failing. It did make a fresh day low, but it did not hold. I don't know that I would look to be a seller here if Bitcoin stays bullish. VIX is also pulling back off the highs. Huge gap up, man. You closed here yesterday, gap up to here today. There is still a ton of risk out there. Be very careful. Positioning is going to be difficult on a daily basis. I exited a lot of positions a couple of weeks ago when I noticed the MOVE index was pivoting on the quarterly. Spreads are confirming this theory for me, the MOVE index. I haven't looked at that in years. Let's go look at it. Years it's been since I've looked at this thing. I don't know if that's even right. It's got to be. You're not talking about Movano. Yeah, there's no way you're talking about that. Yeah, bond market option volatility. Oh, and also for anybody that was looking for Bitcoin volatility, it's BVOL. BVOL shows you historical Bitcoin volatility. This one isn't as good, but obviously you're getting up there. You're getting up there. There's another one that I have on, I think it's on the crypto stuff. Yeah, BVOL 24H. This is Bitcoin Historical Volatility Index. So this would be more like the VIX, but for Bitcoin, right? So you can see Bitcoin's volatility isn't as elevated as the S&P vol is right now. It's elevated because anything down in here is what you typically want. Right, you want to see prices basically bouncing between 45 cents to $1.50. That's like normal vol. Anything above it is elevated. But yeah, this works very similar to the VIX. So your volatility sellers, they're out there. You could just be an SPX buyer and be considered a volatility seller, but I mean, there's actual traders that make their money just trading volatility products. That's what keeps things in line, keeps things in check. For anybody that wanted that ticker. Yeah, Bitcoin's bouncing. You're retesting the daily 21 EMA. I definitely want to see a daily close above this. What a beautiful daily retest as it broke above resistance. Pull back. That's why I was looking to be a buyer this morning, guys. It's an inside day. I never get stressed until we're smoking the lows of the prior day. If you're just pulling back internally, it's a buying op, generally speaking. Well, I mean, when you're making higher lows, right? And in a sequence like this, where you're making higher lows. I just got stopped out. I should have let that risk play out a little bit longer. If I could have held out 5 more minutes, I would have been fine. 5 minutes. Damn it. It is what it is. Let's go back over to NVIDIA. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, NVIDIA is probably going to test the 21-week EMA. Gold also bouncing, but not a huge bounce. This is last month's VWAP. I don't know that you'll retest that gap fill. I'd say you should make a lower high, but we'll see. We'll see. Excuse me. I don't know why I got the hiccups all of a sudden. Crypto, strangely enough, looks like an appetizing opportunity. Some do. Excuse me, I gotta take a drink of water. A nicotine pouch giving me the hiccups. Yeah, some do. Some look like a very good opportunity. Some don't. If it's got an actual use case to it, yeah. XMR bouncing. XMR actually damn near made a fresh daily low. 336.16. That is a lower low. So you did make a lower daily low on XMR. Damn it, that didn't work. I mean, let's see if that fixed it. The old hold your breath 10 seconds and then take 3 sips of water usually fixes it for me. Pretty sure that's just an old wives' tale, but it works sometimes. All right, so there we go. Be gone hiccups. Yeah, XMR made a fresh daily low and is bouncing pretty severely here this morning. Zcash still looks pathetic. Pingu putting in higher lows. So it's starting to wedge up. Pingu is a shitcoin. It has zero use case at all, but people still trade it. So it is putting in higher lows. It does look like it's trying to, we'll see. We'll see what it does. It's got to break out to the upside. If it can break this, then maybe it can actually get something going. You're going to see Bonk. It's going to look almost identical. And then Fartcoin, same thing. They are building in these higher lows here. Longer term, this is constructive. It's not great, obviously, because it could break down. But it is better than making lower lows and lower highs, right? And people are paying attention to that kind of stuff. Because it's a technical setup. Your daily range is smaller than yesterday's. Yesterday's was inside Sunday's. Today's close is going to be interesting. But here's the thing. As long as the dollar, until the dollar, I should say, starts making lower lows, this could be just a pullback. You're not really making any lower lows yet on the dollar. So if the dollar continues to do something like this, higher lows, then I would anticipate another move higher. It is a pretty extended rally. You're massively overbought here on the 4 hour. You're overbought on the 8 hour. You're overbought on the 12 hour. And you're almost overbought on the daily. The last time you got to overbought on the daily on the dollar was back in November. So, could sellers show up here on the dollar? Absolutely. This is where I would want to see it fail. If the dollar can fail here, I will still maintain my macro bearish bias. But the problem is this thing is trading and closing days well above its 21. You're also well above the weekly 21 as well at this point. Well above it. But it could be a sellable opportunity. The problem is everybody was trapped on shorts here. That's why you're seeing such a massive breakout. So you kind of are squeezing shorts here. And short squeezes can last a while, depending on how big the squeeze is. A lot of people had a macro bearish dollar bias. I'm not the only one. Donald Trump even wants lower dollar prices. I think someone in his administration probably pulled him off to the side and was like, look, you need to settle down on dollar short positioning, because like if you unwind that USD JPY carry trade, you're going to crash the markets. Because ever since, like, Trump said it on the plane, that's the last time I remember hearing him say anything about dollar positions. And the reporter asked him what he thought about the dollar, and he said he liked it. That was here when he said that. And then you got another push lower. I think Scott Bassett or somebody took him aside and was like, chill on that, please, because if you cause the USD JPY carry trade to unwind, you're going to cause a potential bear market in the risk markets. So I haven't really heard Trump mention anything about dollar weakness since then. So if he comes out shitting on the dollar again, then obviously I would keep a dollar bear back macro bias. With that being said, price is king, and right now it's breaking out. So I have to go with what's going on right now. If it fails to break out here, then I'll look for dollar shorts again. But we'll see. We'll see. I gotta go with the price here. Only bullish crypto asset is Circle right now. Is it bullish, or is that just subjective to speak? It's popped nicely. Yeah. It's popped a lot nicelier than some other things have for sure. Looks really good on the month. You're trading above the prior 3 swing highs. So that is a good look. I would like to see that area act as support. I would want to see those dip buyers come in up there. They did today. Nice. Yeah, it's starting to look good. Massive rejection on USD CAD. Massive rejection. Look at this. Bam. Right back down. That actually looks good. Any pullback into here, I'd be a seller now. Yeah, that is a flat out rejection. If I've ever seen one, that is a rejection. That's a strong rejection. If this thing can pull back to 136,983, I would be a seller there. I doubt you're going to. It probably already did. Let's see. No, it didn't. It hasn't yet. If this area can hold as resistance today, I'll be a seller on USD CAD. It's still a higher low, but the XY is pulling back a little bit. What's USD JPY doing? Oh, nothing. Okay. See, up in here you can see BOJ intervention again. I'm not going to trade for the intervention. I'm just going to let this thing do its own thing. I'll look for dollar positioning elsewhere, like on Euro or on USD CAD. It's hard to be a buyer here on the Euro dollar, especially with this much momentum today. Got huge support levels here. But I think it just got over its skis and the volatility's pulling back a little bit. It's what happens later on in the week that will be super important for us positioning in the future. Weekly 100 EMA, sorry. You're fine. They want a Goldilocks market so badly. I can't see this ending well, just my 2 cents. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to get that either. I would love to see it too. People just make more money in a bull market. It's just better when the markets are bullish for everybody, not just the bearish Twitter folks. USDT dominance falling off a cliff. I don't know if I have USDT dominance chart. I think it's just USDT.D, right? Falling off a cliff. What, today? Like intraday? Yeah. To be fair, it had a move like that a couple days ago too, and it didn't amount to much. I don't know what... Like, I really don't have any strategies for this asset. But I think that's good for Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, it rolled over at resistance. This isn't a tradable asset as far as I'm aware. But yeah, I think that would have good RAM. It would be good for Bitcoin. I mean, there's no secret that this is pulling back as Bitcoin is bouncing. I had a bullish bias today on Bitcoin. I just got stopped out of it. It sucks, but that's life as a trader, especially one that's so public. Because when I fail, you see it. You see it. I use that to short altcoins. What, USDT dominance chart? Wouldn't Bitcoin dominance chart be better for shorting altcoins? Whenever Bitcoin dominance is up, altcoin shorts are better off. I don't know. You could be right. I don't ever look at it. I don't even have it on my watch list, but dominance is strong here today. And altcoins aren't getting killed, so maybe you're right. Maybe that's a better indicator to look for. I don't know how you would trade it, though. I mean, what do you do when it's going, when USDT.D is going up? You sell alts. Makes sense. Yeah, whenever dominance on Tether is strong, then anything that's trading against Tether would inherently be weak. It's pulling back. Hopefully it has Hopefully it can continue to do that. I'll put it on the watch list. I have no problem putting it on the watch list at all. I used to have the others dominance chart on here, but I took that off the other day. We got total 3 others. They're all range bound. Everything is. And as long as as long as the construction that's happening inside of the range is making higher lows, you should have more of a near-term bullish bias until that changes. Once that changes, then on the near term, you can look for sell side positioning. But yesterday was a clear higher close on Bitcoin. Yesterday was clearly a higher close, higher than that day there. So your near-term trend is up. Very, very near term. It looked like it was going to change, but it didn't. It ultimately held support and is rallying. And that's what I anticipated on happening. So I got to close that limit long because Bitcoin is nowhere near it now. I will continue to watch it. Like I said, don't get too... I mean, it's nice that this is a bullish look. It looks really good. It's an inside day, so that's good. If you can take out yesterday's high and even better, close higher today, that would be very good. Then maybe we will see the dollar actually weaken up here this week instead of continue on this breakout. That would also be good for Bitcoin, in my opinion. But unfortunately, you're going to need to see the dollar start to roll over first. It isn't doing that yet. This could be bought up. It could be looked at as a pullback and they could get long dollar trades today. It is still an inside range candle. Very much just a correction. Now, it's good that this 4-hour candle closed under the midpoint. I do like that. Though it is a rejection. But if they can't even get lower lows, then I would anticipate this thing does ultimately break out. Or at least continue in the direction it's been going the last 2 days. And that would continue with gold weakness, silver weakness, and potentially Bitcoin weakness. So we do want to see the dollar weaken. You only use it with crypto because you can short or go along with leverage. Yeah, well, that's what we do. Power USDT is down over 60%. You can. You can't get that kind of leverage in the stock market, but you can make those kind of gains. You can make 60% gains, and I can make 60% gains on option strategies. And if you're trading something like that's just as volatile as crypto, would be like your low float, low cap penny stocks. Those things see multiple hundreds of percent moves inside of a day. It's kind of the same thing, right? It's super risky, super high volatility type of stuff. That's why we love crypto. That's why we love it. Because it's super risky, super high volatility. I keep Fartcoin, Bonk, and Pingu on watch because these things move 5 to 10% every single day. And when they get going crazy, like this rally here at the beginning of the year, that was a 50% rally. 50%. And then last week, we set up a trade on River last week. Now, it doesn't look so good today. Yesterday, oh yeah, it does. I take that back. Never mind. Yesterday, it started to pull back a little bit. But look at this. We set this. This is where we bought it. $8.33. This thing is up it's up over 100%. 121%. We called this out. We took the positioning. We were looking for this to happen. It is now happening. I'm no longer in it. I got out. I got stopped out of it way too quickly. So unfortunately, right idea, just wrong positioning. And I don't think anybody else caught it because I haven't seen anybody bragging about it. So, but yeah, we were looking for this to happen. We started to watch another one this weekend, but it didn't account to anything. ICNT, it's doing the same thing, right? You're seeing a volatility. You're losing vol here. You got a slight signal there on the 4-hour and the 8-hour signal the other day, but for whatever reason, this one just isn't working out. It is continuing its rollover, but it's still very low volatility. So if volume comes into it and it starts to trend higher, you could see a rip on this one as well. But this one does not move as aggressively as River. River was perfect. Everything was perfect for the River trade. I haven't seen anything like this style of trading since River either. But if I find one, I'll definitely call it out when I see it. If I see another big mover that has the potential to rip, we'll call it out. We generally do. We're pretty good at that stuff. This one's been moving like crazy lately, and I don't know what this is. It's new, but it's been on a mission. Let me see if there's any big movers today. Not really. Damn, power's down 62%. Yeah, you said that, didn't you? It's new. Yeah, you can get lucky like that occasionally, find those gigantic movers. But, I mean, nailing this would have been difficult. Obviously, anybody that started shorting over here got wrecked. You did have nice bearish divergence on this thing. But, I mean, you gotta be honest. You know what I mean? If you would have been trying to short this thing before today, you got wrecked. That's a 50%, or not 50%, but a 25% move from just $2 to 250. There's no way you could have sat through that. Not with any kind of leverage on. So it's moving. It looks like it's toast. But it could bounce from here too. I would take profits. If it was me, if I caught this short, I would definitely be scaling out of this. All right. Let's see. What else? What else? River is a golden goose. I got in at the 3, sold at 20. Doing great. Keep it up. River was your first leverage trade after stop spot trading crypto. New coins are the best. They're volatile. Yeah, they're volatile. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Keep an eye on dollar. Obviously, if you have a long bias on Bitcoin, you're going to want to see dollar roll over. And as far as things that I'm looking at, I still like gold and silver lower if the dollar continues on its run up. So that's very important that you understand that. I do not have a short side bias on gold and silver, right? It's because of the dollar that we were looking for the short on silver. Other than that, the longs have been working on this. So if it can stay under around 80, like 87.50, I would be okay with putting on another short bet on it. But above that, I don't want to be shorting it because something else could be going on here. If the dollar, like I said, if it rolls over, then silver and gold could get a bid back. So be careful if you are trying to short gold and silver. I'm not anticipating a large move lower. I was not anticipating that big of a move, I can tell you that. But yeah, I'm probably going to, I'm going to hold it for a little while longer because it did make a higher high, but it's nowhere in here. So as long as it's as long as you're just doing this, it could still find resistance today and ultimately push a little bit lower. This was a big move. I would almost be willing to bet this thing stays sideways for the rest of the day. So if there is a setup on silver or gold, I think it'll be tomorrow or Thursday, but we'll see. So yeah, I'm watching that. I am still short Nvidia. I am still short, but I fully anticipate this trade will get stopped out simply because risk markets are at a support. Now, if risk markets ultimately do roll over, then this could end up holding. We'll see. Very tight stop on it. If it starts to print higher highs on the daily, I'm going to get out. I'll be out of it because I want to see what it does up here at the weekly 21, similar to how yesterday played out. Because if it starts to trend back to the upside above 182, I probably won't have a very strong near-term bearish bias. This thing got killed last week. It probably needs to bounce a little bit higher. Tesla's still in a downtrend. So I still have a near-term bearish bias on Tesla, but it is wedging up. It is, as you can see, it isn't breaking down. So until the breakdown comes, I want to look for it up here. I would rather short it up in this area if it can hold. We missed it on this day. That would have been the best day to short it. We just missed it. It happened so fast. It was like wham, bam, and it was over. The entry was over. It never gave us, it never came back and filled us on entry. And similar to Bitcoin today, if Bitcoin can hold the March open, 66,971 as support, I would be a buyer here or be okay with buying it. As long as the war is going on over there, if you hear any bad news like a U.S. carrier gets sunk or some crazy shit like that, Bitcoin will probably probably head lower. We'll see. Hopefully nothing bad happens, but it's war, and war is bad. A lot of risk. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.